Nate.
Hey, Maria.
How are you?
Great, thanks.
Thank you for agreeing to do this follow-up interview with me.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk to you for a number of reasons. One of them is you were a candidate in this past election.
Yeah.
And the other reason was because I know that you've been advocating for ranked choice voting for at least a decade.
Actually, 2.
2 decades.
We figured out, we were trying to remember when we first started talking about it, and we used to call it instant runoff voting back then. And a few weeks later, William Mee, actually, out of the blue, commented on Facebook, I remember when you were talking about this back in some forum in 1998. And so if we were talking about it and advocating it,
yeah,
we must have known about it earlier than that. And so that's why I say, 20 years later, we're glad that it's finally happened thanks to you guys.
So tell me a little bit about your advocacy around this issue when the city passed ranked choice voting.
Yeah, I kind of was in the field. I wasn't the main organizer, but I was doing whatever Rick Lass wanted me to do, and he was very active in all of that. And we did a lot of phone calling back then. You know, it was not pre-internet, but it was pre-Facebook pretty much. And we would always have phone lists, and we ran it like a real campaign, and we had no idea that there was so much support for it. I mean, I remember the results of the election just blowing me away because we had no way of polling, and we were always living in our bubble, and everybody loved it, and but when the electorate really went out and voted for it, these types of things are often very close. It seems like the electorate is often pretty wishy-washy. They were not wishy-washy. I just remember and it was so exciting, the results of 66% or 67%, that I also remember kind of thinking, oh, we're done. I didn't think that it was going to actually have to be something that we would have to force the city to ever do, because it was just an overwhelming response. And so, and then sort of, it didn't happen. And it wasn't going to happen. And it was really forgotten. And sadly, we lost 10 years. So we could have been doing it for a long time. It seems like such a waste, but the city handled it great. Both the city of Santa Fe, government handled it great, and the people, the voters, the citizens, seemed to really love it. And when I was going door to door, it was great. They could say, yes, I've already voted for you. And they might not have been lying, They might have voted for me second, but, yeah.
And when you decided to run for council seat, right?
Yeah.
Ranked choice voting, it was still on the fence. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not.
But it was part of why I wanted to run, because it seemed like it was happening.
You thought that it was going to happen?
Yeah, I thought that it could happen, and I thought how great it would be to be involved in the first ranked choice voting ever in Santa Fe. And so that was actually part of it. The other big part of it was that Santa Fe has public financing. So I got to go around to my neighbors and got 150 $5 contributions, actually 240 something. $5 contributions, only needed 150 from these registered voters in the district. And that gave me $15,000 to spend on the campaign. And I was not allowed to ask anyone for money. I wasn't allowed to give my own money. And that and the ranked choice voting made the running part fun. It was an enjoyable experience, 99% of the time. And I really think that because there were 2 men and 1 woman in the race, and the 1 woman was probably viewed as being progressive, similar to me, I think I was more progressive. That's just my opinion. But I think there would have been a lot of pressure from people for me not to run, had it been, maybe the the two progressives vote would have been split, and the guy who's perceived as, I wouldn't say conservative, but more moderate on things and a little bit sort of less out there, shall we say, and sort of wanting to move Santa Fe back and go back to its foundations, and that was his way of presenting himself, and he ran a good campaign too. But I think that there would have been this, oh no, we want to make sure we get a progressive, so you're the underdog, why don't you step back? And I didn't get any of that. I got none of that. And that was nice. It was really nice. And it had a lot to do with the ranked choice voting.
How do you think that ranked choice voting has impacted our city beyond election night? Like, how do you think people are thinking about elections? How do you think candidates dealt with ranked choice voting in their campaigns?
In terms of the political side, it does make people more excited about a candidate to know that even if they don't win, you're going to vote for them first, and you don't have to do this strategic voting, which people feel uncomfortable about ultimately. I mean, they know they have to do it in those situations when they do, or some people know they have to do it, and then there's these others who just say, I don't care, I'm going to vote for who I want, I don't care if they have any chance of winning. And both of those frames of mind really dissipate and dissolve, and you can really focus on the candidates and the issues. And so beyond the politics, it's the issues that got spoken about in much more greater detail. And there was this long list of issues that we got comprehensive information out to the voters about, that people really did need to, if they wanted to make a decision that they would be happy with in the voting booth, they had to do some research. I think a little bit more research than they normally would on the issues. And so it had a tremendous effect with respect to the people of Santa Fe's knowledge of the issues and diverse opinions of the issues, and that was a great thing. It was a wonderful thing for Santa Fe. Yeah.
And what was your experience as a voter voting on your first ranked choice voting election?
Oh, that was fun. It went pretty quickly. I had to go back out and campaign. I was an early voter, and there was no line. It was funny because I was on the ballot, and the person kind of wanted to show me how things working, and I had been working on it for 20 years, but I was patient, and I wanted to see what the nice person on the other side was going to tell me, and it was all correct information, and it was like, okay, thank you, yeah, I've got it, I'm on this thing here, I'm here, and so that was just fun. So it was a fun experience, but I kind of did it and took my old selfie at the voting booths behind, and moved on and got back to door knocking. And it was a great experience, though.
What did it feel like for you specifically, having been an advocate for this for 20 years, to actually not only be voting on that, but have your name on that ballot? What was it, like a moving thing for you?
I can't remember it being like I didn't get all verklempt or anything like that. I don't think any tears came to my eye necessarily. I think I was pretty much in the moment and focused on the turf that I was neglecting by going to vote, and I had to get back to it. It was daylight, there were people to knock on doors, and so I spent many an afternoon. Certainly by the time early voting had started, it was my sort of 7 days a week thing during daylight hours, especially. I didn't like to go too early in the morning. I didn't want to disturb people, but certainly from 11 to 5, 6, the sun would set about 6:15, 6:30 toward the end of the campaign. I tried not to schedule much else, and it was just door to door. So that voting thing was kind of in the way, but I was glad to do it.
That's so great. I'm really happy that you ran.
Thanks.
And that you were involved with the advocacy, trying to get this passed, trying to get this implemented and we did it. We finally did it.
Well, you guys really did it. I think we'd still be listening to the city clerk. And by the way, I like the city clerk. I really feel great thoughts about the city clerk. And I will say, too, that as a candidate, I learned that they do have a lot to do, and they are understaffed. I mean, literally, they had, I guess, part-time or off-duty firemen in there or something, when there isn't a fire, in there answering phones for them, that kind of thing. I think that's what these guys were sometimes. And they rose to the occasion, fortunately. And I think I was pretty scared that something would go wrong. And yeah, it took a little longer. That didn't bother me at all. I know it bothered a bunch of other people, but I don't think that we got to get it right and not put out incorrect information early because we want to get it done early. And so that was fine that it took that much time and on election night to get the results. But the city clerk would probably just still be in this state of inertia, busy as hell, not wanting anything new to have to do because they do probably need a couple more people in that office doing all this stuff they already do. So I actually, as a candidate, I saw more of that because I would have to go in every week or two, or there'd be forms, and the public financing forms had to be delivered in person, etc. And there'd be just like stacks of stuff that they were working on, and they were working, just not around the clock, but constantly. They weren't the kind of, government officials you might imagine doing nothing. They were just working constantly. And so I saw that, and I was a little worried that would they really have the time and to deal with it and to teach people. And the community rose up, the nonprofits rose up, the newspapers rose up. I was, teaching people about it on a daily basis on the campaign trail, and all the other candidates were as well, to varying degrees. And I wouldn't say we're lucky, but we're very fortunate that you guys stepped in and made it happen.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thank you, Nate.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about this?
Is there anything else I want to tell? Well, I encourage everyone out there to run for office. I think it's an excellent experience. Again, it was lucky that we had ranked choice voting. It made the candidates nicer to each other. I really think both of my opponents, I'd love to run into them. I have run into them since the election, and hug them and that kind of thing. I think that I don't think you can underestimate the importance of elections that don't get nasty, and that if we can keep them about the issues, then the voters are better served, and the candidates are better served, and more people will want to run, and I think that's good, and more people will want to vote and listen to those running, and that's even better. So it's something that every city should consider doing.
We're working on it.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.